One of the things I hate the most about business overall is following up with leads. I think a lot of people will relate to that, and it's purely because it takes so much time, so much effort out of your day, and especially brain bandwidth, right? Thinking about actually doing the follow up, which is just annoying to do. And it's never been really possible to delegate or to automate this task because it requires some sort of skill and knowledge about the history of the conversation you've had with the leads. So, now with AI agents and AI overall, it is finally automatable. And I decided to do that because I was just tired of doing it manually. It's not fully automated, so stay tuned to see what I mean. But I think you'll really appreciate this template, which I'll give you access to, and I'll give you the entire template for free. But then again, you have to understand the requirements of this automation. So here we go. If you like this type of video, feel free to let me know in the comments and let's get started. So this is what the automation looks like. So it's not a very big automation like you'll see in a ton of videos, but in short, how this works is that first and foremost, this runs on a daily basis. Okay. And after that, I get all of the a Google sheet with all of the client information. Once I have this, I filter out for the active clients and then loop over them. Okay, so actually, once this is finished, we have to send this here. Okay, now what this then gets is a bunch of information about the clients. Okay, so I won't show you this because it contains credentials, but in short, it contains a bunch of document IDs and spreadsheet IDs that will be relevant later on. And one of those is the CRM follow-up. And so when we check this, for example, we have these are the rows, for example. So this is a sample lead, so just take this with a grain of salt. But in short, this is a sort of CRM where we get the date last received of an email, the status of it, the reply IDs, whatever, campaign names, stuff like that. Okay. Then we use a bunch of code to find out the difference in days since that response. So that was the 7th of March to today, which we are the 31st. So there's a 24-day difference. Once we have this difference, then we can filter out for if we actually want to send a follow-up message. Because if you send the last email yesterday, you're probably not going to want to follow up. But this is how we just find it, right? Okay, we find the difference in days, and we find out if it's equal to like 3 days ago, 7 days ago, or 24 in this case. Um, if that checks out to being true, so if it was 24 days old, then we start diving deeper. So for example, here, this is my sequencer. So you would have, for example, instantly, and we get the actual emails that were sent out. So this is for cold email outreach. Once that is done, we can then get the last reply. Once we get the last reply, which this is included in my API, you'll find it through another API. Then we can actually go into the campaigns. Okay, so actually get the content of the reply. So here we get a bunch of text, and then we have a bunch of code to analyze the text. So essentially, how this works is that in your HTML body, you'll have a bunch of emails linked together. So I'll show you what this looks like concretely. But in short, we use this code to normalize the emails. So what you're seeing here, maybe I can no, I can't. Okay. Is essentially from the text, we were able to extract three different emails. So the last one was, "Hey, I'm available to chat, blah, blah, blah. Here's my link." The previous email was the lead saying, "Hey, let's propose a time to speak." And the first initial email was the actual email that we sent. So that's that. And once we have this history of conversation, right, we're able to get a bunch of other important information like who was it sent from, what was the receiver, and what was the actual last email. And once we get all of this information, we first cross-reference if the last email sender, so this one, is actually equal to the lead. If it is equal to the lead, that means the lead replied and is the last message in the history, and therefore we have to reply to that, right? But so we have to follow up. But if this doesn't check out to be true, then that means which I put this false, so this is not true, meaning that we sent the last email. If we sent the last email, we have to follow up on our email, right? So these are two different flows, right? Here you can either have, okay, let's reply to the lead. because the last reply is from the lead. And if the last reply is from us, then we have to follow up on our message. And here we use an AI agent that has a bunch of tools. So it's an open AI model. You can use Anthropic, whatever model you prefer. But in short, how it works is that it has access. I'll show you the prompt. This is what the prompt looks like, okay? So you have to follow up with the lead, blah, 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 some guidelines, response strategy. But the beautiful part about this is that we feed all of the history. So it has context. And with that context, you'll see in one of the core guidelines, we say if a lead asked a time to book a call, then we must check if an event was scheduled on the calendar. If it was, then we don't do anything, or we thank them for setting up the call. And if there isn't, we follow up with them with that. So here we have a tool that the agent is allowed to use. So essentially, how it works is that it connects to a calendar. So for me, it's this, and it checks if a event is there. If there's no event, it means no no, there was no calendar booking. And there's also a link to a bunch of information you have about your offer that you can give to the AI so that it has more information and more context to say in the response. But long story short, in the response it says, "Hey, wanted to circle back to see if you were interested in scheduling time, blah blah blah." Okay, cool. So this is all AI done, okay? And then we send the Slack message, which looks like this. So once you have that, boom, and essentially we have a follow-up message with the workspace ID. This is tracking information to actually send the reply after, because this is where everything comes together. And now we get the email history. So the email history between all of us, and we get a sample response by the AI, right? So, hi, wanted to circle back to see if you're interested in scheduling time, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool, cool, cool. And if you like this, then you can send the reply, and this will trigger another automation that will actually send the reply in your sequencer. And if not, you can just close this and it'll close the message, right? So it's a very foul-proof automation that actually checks and does the manual tasks you would have had to do beforehand. Because if you wanted to do this manually, for example, you would have had to actually check the calendar, refine the conversation on your email, check the calendar if an event was scheduled, find the history, and actually create a reply. Which this is all we're doing all of that, but through API calls, and then we're using all that context inside of the AI agent to actually reply. So this is one of the ways I am using AI agents in my marketing, and this is a very scalable way to automate, right? You can use this with 1 people on your sales team and with 20 people on your sales team. You'll just have to tweak some nudges, but essentially this is a way you can use AI agents. Now, I think I walked you through every single part, which that should make sense to you. Now, if you want the template, I'll link it down below, but I honestly don't think you should copy the template, purely because this is intrinsically linked to my setup, right? My tech stack, my tools, stuff like that. So the template might not be a great fit for you, but you can recreate this following the steps I used. So long story short, we first get the information about your client. You link that with your CRM. So with me, it's a Google Sheet. In your CRM, you loop over your leads. So right now there's only one item, but there would be hundreds in your CRM. Blah, blah, blah. You get the history of the emails. Here, through my setup, I have to make a separate request to actually get the last message. Then you just use code, so you can ask ChatGPT to create this for you. That's what I did. And this will get you the history and format it in a great way. And once that's done, you have to check if the last response, or the last email, sorry, was sent by you or by the lead. That'll define if you follow up or if you reply to the lead, which are two different things. And if you count on following up, then boom, you have your AI agent with a few tools. You have the prompt here if you want it. And yeah, so that should help. I hope this was insightful. I'm trying to not make this too long for you guys. And if you like this type of content, feel free to let me know. This took me quite some time to build, and I'm sharing it for free instead of, making you buy a course or whatever. So if you could show me some gratitude, that would be awesome. And if not, that's fine too. That said, see you on another video.